My dear students of class 8, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Once again, let's continue with the revision session of the nervous system. The revision session, I was continuing with the nervous system only, and I had told you about the cerebrum. So, the functions of cerebrum are to control all the voluntary activities of the body that are under the control of the the five sense organs. That is, our five senses are controlled by the cerebrum. That is vision, that is the sense of vision or sense of sight, then hearing, speech, taste, smell and touch, all are under the control of cerebrum. Apart from this, it is also responsible for thinking, memory, learning, reasoning, intelligence and consciousness. Is that clear? Then I told you about cerebellum, that it is a small part of the brain and it is located at the back of the head under the cerebrum, and its function is in balancing the body while walking, running, jogging and cycling, and it regulates and coordinates muscular activity, all the activities of the body which are concerned with the movement or with the concern with the movement of the muscles are controlled and regulated by the coordinated and regulated by the cerebellum. Is it clear now? Then the third part is the medulla oblongata, that is, it is the posterior part of the brain and it is also called the brain stem, and it joins the brain to the spinal cord. So basically it controls all the involuntary activities of the body like breathing, sneezing, peristalsis, then breathing and heartbeat and blood pressure. I had told you about peristalsis, that is, it is the alternate wave of contraction and relaxation in moving the food in the digestive system, and apart from this, it is the regulating center for swallowing, coughing, sneezing and vomiting. And medulla oblongata, if injured, may result in the death of a person. So it is a very vital part of the body, and any injury to this part may result in death. And the spinal cord is a long, narrow and cylindrical cord like structure. It arises from the medulla oblongata, that is, it continues in the vertebral column, and it runs down almost the whole length of the backbone. It is protected by the vertebral column. So a cross section of the spinal cord, you can see in this diagram, it shows two halves. There are two halves and they are fused together to form a small canal in the center, and this canal is known as the central canal. Is that clear? This canal is known as the central canal. And this canal is filled with CSF, that is cerebrospinal fluid, and the arrangement of grey and white matter is opposite when we compare it to the arrangement inside the cerebrum or inside the brain. That is, the grey matter is made up of cell bodies of the neuron. It is present in the center. This is the grey matter, and it is an H-shaped area. You can see this is an H-shaped area, right? This H-shaped area, and the outer portion is the white matter, which is made up of axon. So the arrangement, I have already told you that it is opposite when we compare it as compared to the brain. What are the various functions of the spinal cord? It controls reflex action, it conducts messages from the muscle and skin to the brain, and it conducts messages from the brain to the muscle of the limb, from the brain to the muscle and the trunk. That is, the muscles of the limb and the trunk also. Is that clear? That is, it controls the reflex action, it conducts messages from the muscle and skin to the brain and back from the brain to the muscle of the limbs and the trunk. So these are the functions of the spinal cord. Then the peripheral nervous system, I already told you that peripheral nervous system consists of all the nerves of the body, and these nerves connect the central nervous system, that is the brain and the spinal cord, to all the parts of the body. And there are two types of nerves, that is the cranial nerves and the spinal nerves. The cranial nerves, they arise from the brain, are called, that all the nerves that arise from the brain are called cranial nerves, and they spread in the head region. So the nerves that arise from the brain are called cranial nerves, and there are 12 pairs of cranial nerves. They are spread in the head region. So first pair of cranial nerve are the olfactory nerves, these nerves, and they are the nerves that they are rising from the brain and connect the nose to the brain. So they are for smelling. The second pair of cranial nerves are the optic nerves to the eyes. You can see over here, they are to the eyes and they are for vision. The seventh pair of cranial nerves are the facial nerves, this nerve, and this apply to the muscle of they carry the nerve impulse of the muscle of the face and tongue. Then eighth pair of cranial nerve are the auditory nerve or the glossopharyngeal. Is that clear? I beg your pardon, acoustic. That is the auditory nerves to the ears. The eighth pair of nerve are the auditory nerves to the ears. They are for hearing. Then the spinal nerves are the second type of nerves in the peripheral nervous system. So they arise from the spinal cord and hence they are called as the spinal nerves. They are spread throughout the body except the head region, because there we have the cranial nerves. There are 31 pairs of spinal nerves. Is it clear? So a typical spinal nerve is a mixed nerve. It has a mixed nerve, means it has a sensory nerve and a motor nerve. And so the sensory nerve carry message from the sense organ to the brain or spinal cord, and the motor nerves bring message from the brain or spinal cord to the gland or the muscles. So these nerves are mixed nerves. Is that clear? There are 31 pairs of such nerves. The next type of system is next part of the nervous system is the autonomic nervous system. So here we have a pair of chain of ganglia, that is it is a mass of nerve cells and nerves. Mass of nerve cell, a collection of nerve cell, a group of neuron cell bodies. Is that clear? So they lie close to either side of the spinal cord, and this system is not in our conscious control. The system is not in our conscious control. We cannot control the system. So it regulates and coordinates the vital involuntary activities like breathing, heartbeat, digestion, respiration. So it operates two systems, parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous system. These systems do what? They send signals to the same organ, but they have antagonistic, that is opposite effect. For example, if a particular the sympathetic nervous system inhibit the secretion of gastric juice in the alimentary canal, that inhibition means stopping something from happening, whereas the parasympathetic nervous system stimulates the secretion of gastric juice in the alimentary canal. So this is the activities. These are the activities, that is, you can see that stimulation of the flow of saliva, stimulating, make something happen, and then here inhibiting it from flowing, stopping it from happening, slows the heartbeat and accelerates the heartbeat, constricts the bronchi that are present in the lungs, and it dilates the bronchi that are present in the lungs. So they work in opposition to each other and they work together. Is it clear? So this is the function of the autonomic nervous system. Then voluntary and involuntary action, I have told you several times in this chapter, and earlier also I have made a mention of this. Voluntary action that are performed consciously are called voluntary actions, that is, these are under our control. An example, playing a game, eating something, writing with a pen, and so on. Involuntary action that are not under our control, they are performed unconsciously. Like for example, when something is approaching you, immediately cover your face. Something, you feel that something is coming towards you, or you suddenly something you pierces you or pricks you, you withdraw your hand, or you move your hand away from it, or you step a nail, you withdraw your feet from there. So these are all involuntary action, and such involuntary actions are called as reflex action or reflexes. So a quick and automatic response to a stimulus controlled by the spinal cord without the involvement of the brain is called a reflex action. So there is no involvement of the brain in the reflex action, and the path followed by a nerve impulse in a reflex action is called as the reflex arc. Is that clear? It is called as the reflex arc. So example of this is that moving away of hand on touching a hot object is an example of reflex action. So you can see in this diagram that the stimulus is carried, what is the stimulus? Heat, and the receptors that are present in your skin, they can sense it, and they send the nerve impulse from the skin to the sensory neuron, and this sensory neuron carries the impulse to the brain. Is that clear? Through the relay neuron. Relay, I told you, that is then make a connection between the motor and sensory neuron. That is done with the help of the relay neuron, and this relay neuron carries the impulse to the motor neuron, and from the motor neuron the effector to the effector muscles, and the response is there, effector muscles of the hand, and the hand is withdrawn away, it is moved away. Is that clear? So this is how the reflex action works, that is heat stimulus received by the sensory receptors in the skin, and a nerve impulse is generated. It travels through sensory neuron in the spinal cord to the, I beg your pardon, that was not to the brain but to the spinal cord, because reflex action there is no involvement of the brain. So nerve impulse arrives in the grey matter of the spinal cord, and relay neuron transmit impulse from the sensory neuron to the motor neuron, and nerve impulses reach the muscles or arm through the motor neuron, and the muscles contract and the hand is moved away. So reflexes are basically of two types, that is natural reflexes and conditioned reflexes. Natural reflexes or inborn reflexes, they are reflexes that are present since birth, and they do not need any learning or previous experience. Examples are blinking and watering of the eyes, then salivation when hungry, swallowing, peristalsis, withdrawal of leg when suddenly stepping on a nail, and knee jerk, then blinking of eyes, coughing and sneezing are protective reflexes. Is that clear? They are reflexes that protect your body to a particular damage. If you continue stepping on a nail, it can do a lot of damage to your injured part. Or coughing is also a reflex, that is you are coughing out anything which is not to enter your lungs. Is that clear? Then next type is conditioned reflex or acquired reflexes. Now these are reflexes which are acquired by training or which are developed by training and learning. Example, watering of mouth at the sight of tasty food, this salivation. Is that clear? Like different people might be visiting at different places, but each and every food might not salivate each and every person. Is that clear? So whatever food that you have tasted earlier and has been quite tasty, then only you salivate. Otherwise no saliva is there, no salivation is there. Typing on keyboard is also learned or acquired through training. Similarly, dancing, swimming and playing a musical instrument all are conditioned reflexes. So, we can also say that salivation is both a natural and conditioned reflex, because when you chew or eat food, salivation occurs, and this is a natural reflex. However, when salivation occurs at the sight or smell of food that you are familiar with as a response, the brain remembers it that you had tasted it earlier, and it works involuntarily and there is salivation again. So, this is a conditioned reflex. Is it clear? Now, these conditioned reflexes were first shown by a Russian zoologist Pavlov in dogs. He noticed that dogs do not secrete saliva on ringing the bell. They do not secrete saliva. And he then started providing food to the dog at a particular time by ringing the bell. Is that clear? So, they used to salivate only when food was provided and not salivate when the bell was rang. But then, after repeating this several times, he observed that the dog started salivating even on ringing the bell only, because he experienced that bell was rung only when food was provided to it. So, at times what was done when the bell was rung and there was no food provided to him, then also he salivated. So, this is a conditioned reflex. Thus, the sound of the bell becomes a conditioned stimulus and salivation the response. So, we can sum up and say that all reflexes are involuntary, that is, they are not under the control of our will. But all involuntary actions are not considered reflexes, they are not reflexes, because some of the voluntary action, by consciously repeating them with specific stimulus, become involuntary. Is it clear? Please revise the chapter properly and complete the written work. Allah Hafiz.